The Lexus Sales December to Remember event. Or whatever the fuck it's called. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. What the fuck?
Hi, sorry.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Sorry, I was looking for my AirPod case and I couldn't find it.
No excuse. How many times did you lose that thing? 12?
Not that. No.
16?
Maybe 12 total since I got it.
And I got it 3 weeks ago.
No. Since I've had AirPods, maybe like... time is really hard to judge now because of COVID. 3 years ago? 2 years ago?
You were an AirPod early adopter.
Yeah.
Well, you would keep one in your ear at all times. Just like no different than the asshole who would have a Bluetooth in their ear, except for some reason the AirPod was acceptable.
One seems like you're trying to look very important. And people that would have the little like Bluetooth thing, like they were doing conference calls, you know, and like important phone calls. And I have to be ready to make a phone call or be on a phone call. And with AirBuds and AirPods, you could be listening to music, you could be listening to a podcast, you could be on a phone call, you could be waiting for a phone. Like there are a lot of options. So
True.
It doesn't seem as douchey.
True. Very good insight.
Thank you.
It is funny when you think about when people first started talking with handless devices, whatever they may be. It was weird. You would see someone on the sidewalk walking, talking. You'd think they were insane for a second.
It's just the way it is.
Some things
will never change.
will never change.
Welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Autumn Fisher.
My name is Greg Russ, and this week's topic is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be kind of like an improv show. There's an audience who just throws a random word at us. And then we have to find our way through that. We have to navigate the treacherous path that lies ahead from a word that we have no clue what it's
Should we
going to be.
do some warm-ups? Zip!
Oh, I hated the warm-ups.
Yeah, the warm-ups felt so corny.
Zap, zoop.
Zoop zap.
I really did not. I understand, I guess, the need for the warm-ups. You know, you loosen your shoulders.
Well, and it's the group, like, it's the group think.
And then you get into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the group think. Although there's always the one person who doesn't want to be a part of the group think. The person who thinks this is my show and I'm going to take over this show at some point.
You mean yourself?
And the whole, not me. What the fuck does that mean?
I didn't bring my whatever suit.
That was not me trying to take over the show. That was me panicking on stage.
Okay.
It was sheer nervousness. Saying I didn't bring my bird suit and leaving my scene partner high and dry. I wonder what she's doing these days. I probably ruined her life. She was the older one in the class, in the improv class, by the way. Which, by that, I mean, who knows what she was, 33, 34? Maybe she was 38. I was 26.
Okay.
And there was a bunch of people younger than me, so I already felt old, which is funny at 26, feeling old. But I was taking comfort in the fact there were a couple people older than me, and some were, just a few years older, but then there was the old lady who was probably 37 or 38. And she wasn't very good at improv, but, she was nice. And it was just, I don't know the reasons she wanted to try to take an improv class at that age. But whatever it was, she was there. And she probably wanted to get something out of it. And I fucking ruined it. Because she was trying to set up a very funny scene that would have gotten good laughs. Yeah. Two people acting like they were birds. And I blew it.
I'm sure you did not ruin her life. Because what kind of power does that give you?
A lot. I am I'm the center point. Anyone who knows me, anyone who is in my orbit, I am the sun.
Yes.
And everyone else revolves around me. And I can affect them. I can be too hot if I burned out. and went away, they would die. So
You're right. That's the only way that people exist, are because you are there.
this is true.
Otherwise, what would their life be?
This is true.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's interesting, though, for real. Like, that's a interesting way of thinking. Like, I guess narcissists think that way without sort of, like, if they don't dig into it, right? Like, that's what they think.
narcissists.
Like, the beach doesn't exist unless I'm on vacation.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say exactly because I ain't no therapist. I ain't no psychologist. I know that narcissists have, I mean, they're so fragile and sensitive that they do have to view themselves in this elevated position. And so, yeah, I assume that they're the center, but it's different than being neurotic and being in the center. Because, like, being neurotic, quite often, you mean well, I think. You're thinking about other people, what their experience is, how you being there, being present, your actions is having an impact on whatever's happening. And you don't want to ruin things. You want everyone to have a good time. You want everyone to be taken care of. But in that process, you're so focused on yourself that you become the center. And I'm not saying that the effects are any better or worse. I mean, I guess you're not outwardly abusing a person like a narcissist would emotionally, whatever it may be.
Right. So I think one has to do with anxiety, and one is like, I don't know, would you call it like a mental illness, disorder? Being a narcissist?
It's a disorder.
Yeah.
But so is being neurotic.
Well, what I mean though, don't you, does, how would I say it? Neuroticism?
Yeah. There's people say neurosis, which is actually a different thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. So would that neuroticism, if that's a word, would that mean, doesn't that come from anxiety? I feel like I think stuff like that stems from anxiety. Because instead of feeling like I am here and therefore everything exists, and if I'm not here, then nothing exists and nothing matters because I'm the most important, or it's like, I'm the only one that can keep all these plates spinning and it's stressful and I'm scared that I'm going to mess up. Like, I can't mess up or things break.
So say it again. You're thinking
So I
that
feel
that
like
just
one
stems
is
from anxiety?
One is, like a neurosis comes from anxiety.
I think it all
From
comes
feeling,
from...
yeah, I don't think narcissism though does.
At some deep level, I think it does.
Yeah.
It's at least insecurity and feeling less than and trying to find your place with other people and
It's an overcompensation.
and get love. Yeah, but it's a very extreme one that most people, like, getting through it and shedding it, or at least learning to live with it, I should say, because shedding things is unrealistic. You just have to learn to live with the things that you've got going on as best as you can, incorporate them into your life as best as you can. But I think it's very difficult. It's just so ingrained and so deep. So they're kind of stuck like that. And the moment you try to talk to them about that, like they don't want anything to do with it.
Well, I mean, I think anybody that has something going on with them, that is a coping mechanism. And if you bring it to them, like, hey, this might not be so good for you. This might not be such a great behavior to have. Like, no, you mean they get defensive.
Yeah, you don't want people telling you what to do.
Well, you don't want people pointing out your flaws.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going to be defensive about stuff like that.
It is difficult to hear from other people what your flaws are. And sometimes, if they're pointing it out, you may feel as though that that's wrong because they don't understand it and they're presenting it in the incorrect way. So you just dismiss it wholeheartedly instead of saying, all right, I mean, the foundation's right. You're wrong mostly, but your idea's right. I am an asshole. Just like all the people in the improv class and all the narcissists there.
Who did bring their bird suit. If they had been in that scene, they would have said,
No,
yep.
but the younger people, I've studied classical acting. It's like, okay. Fine, great. Is that going to do you any good when you're in a scene where you're a jellyfish? Go fuck yourself.
Right.
Yes, I'm bringing it to the table. My
Well,
Shakespearean.
I like to think about, where did the jellyfish come from? What type of jellyfish is it?
I mean, those
How big
people
is the
would.
jellyfish?
Those people definitely would steal the scenes. They needed to be the star of the fucking show, and I couldn't stand them. I guess at some point they get weeded out. But they don't. You go see improv comedy. You loved going to Papa's Garage.
Yeah.
And there was always a person. It's like, my show, my scene.
No, there was not that.
There was, from what I remember. And
I don't feel like there was always that person.
Okay, maybe not always. Maybe not always. But there was a person.
I feel like a lot of times people worked really well together. It was really funny.
Oh, good. Because there does seem to be, quite often, the one person. I shouldn't say quite often.
I think that this is this is just your sort of, again, your anxiety about the thing happening on stage.
There's no anxiety. I've went before I took that class, I was watching some of these improv shows, and there was always the one person. You're right in that it's not happening all the time, and a good improv troupe will work well together, and sometimes someone gets to be a bigger star in the scene or the show, and it should get passed around just naturally, organically. But I feel as though as I was going to these shows and seeing some of the same groups, there was one or two where it's like, oh fuck, that person. It became apparent that they are always the one.
I mean, I guess I'm sure that that's there. I feel like the more professional the troops get, like the later shows that you would go to got better, right? So like the earlier shows, I think, were the newer improvisers, and that maybe you would run into someone who wanted to be the funny person, and it's funny, no matter what.
Is that what you did?
I don't think so.
How were your scenes? We never hear anything about your improv days.
Because I don't remember, like, during the graduation show.
It didn't go well. You don't remember. You've blocked it out.
Well, it's just like doing this show or the radio show. I have a hard time remembering what we said or what we talked about.
I feel it's different though. I agree with you when we do this show, because you're doing it every single day. But how many times did you do an improv show on stage?
Yeah, just once.
So it stands out a bit more. It owns a special spot in your brain. It's like, all right, there's nothing else really for this to get lost in.
I know, but it was so exciting, it was like, you're nervous. You've got a lot of weird energy. Theater energy is a weird thing. Like, my mom told me that I saved a scene. Like, there was a scene happening and something weird was, I don't remember what happened, but I came in and like said something, and I sort of brought it back, or I made it funny, or I'm not sure. I don't remember what it was. I do remember, like, the only thing I truly remember from that night was I yelled out in the audience, to the audience, something about like Neil Peart being the greatest drummer alive. And I wasn't sure, like, if that was how you said his name. Like, I got worried that that wasn't right anymore, because people didn't really react. Like, I made this big thing, like, Neil Peart's the great drummer. And then, like, I didn't feel like I got the proper response for that type of energy. And
maybe most people just didn't know.
I think about that sometimes.
Maybe people didn't know.
That's I didn't bring my bird costume.
They didn't have Rush fans in the audience.
No. Is it Peart? Or did I say Neil Peart? I don't remember. I feel like I said it wrong, though.
I know we need a music expert like Steve Craig or English Nick. They would tell you. They would tell you in a heartbeat. A part beat. Peart beat.
Peart beat.
So you remember a bit of the scene? You don't remember any of the context surrounding that?
Which part? The drummer part?
Yeah.
No. I think the scene that I saved, people were like at dinner. They were at a restaurant, and maybe I came up as a waiter and I said something, and that kind of brought things back, I think. I
mean, I get that. Okay, this is... Thinking about the 2 scenes that I had to do. How many scenes did you have to do? 2? 3? What was your graduation show?
What was it?
Yeah. How long? How many scenes did they make you do?
I have no idea.
Well, I had to do 2.
Or?
We had to do 2.
Sorry, I feel like such an idiot. Like, I really have no memory. I have nothing.
I mean, look, it's fair. I was going to say it's fair because I'm trying to think back. I remember the traumatic part of it, the part where I really fucked up. And I remember the good part where the first scene, I see, this is where I agree with you. It's like, oh yeah, maybe it is harder to remember because I don't remember what the topic was for that first scene. And I remember I was the one who delivered the line that got the lights.
Oh, cool.
And I was a kid and I was with my dad. And at some point my dad was peeing in the toilet and I made a comment, implying that he had a nice penis. And I was like, now I know why mom married you. And then lights out. It's as easy as that may have been. I took it. It got a good laugh from the audience. There was surprisingly a large audience there that day because there was a real improv show happening right after our graduation show and people came early. So, that was something that was weighing on me too. I was like, oh God, there's not supposed to be anyone here. Why is there a fucking audience here? Half the auditorium's filled. Not that it was a big auditorium. We also had
sort of a bigger crowd than I expected.
But you ham up. You love it.
Oh yeah, I'm into it.
I think about when we do the live lounge shows with the Von Hessler Doctrine, and you're like falling on the stage and flopping around. I forget what it was. I think Dr. Joe was there once, but yeah, you were.
Oh, I wanted to get adjusted.
You were doing like the worm, the dance move. Yeah, yes,
I did.
You eat that shit up. There's an audience. It's like time for people to look at me. Here I am. It's fine. More
like I'm not going to shy away from it. It's not like this is mine and I'm going to take it. It's more like, hey, if the joke will be there and I'll be the one to pull the trigger. I'm into it. I'm not shy about it.
Mine is
because I've spent a lot of years pretending to be like humble or something.
You were pretending, so you're cocky. You're a cocky son of a bitch.
Yeah, son of a bitch. More like false, like false modesty. Like, oh no, I don't. It's like, no, just fucking do it. Go up there, make the people laugh. I feel like I'm a little accurate with my abilities. I'm not. If I don't do a good job at something, I'm gonna like own that I didn't do. I'm not delusional, So that's nice. I'm not making people watch me and they don't actually enjoy it, and then the joke is I'm just terrible. Like that's sad, right? I feel like I do a good job and I'll be the one to do it.
If you're on stage, and since the most you're on stage is with the radio show, we'll just focus on that. And other people are getting more attention. How do you feel?
Oh, that's fine.
And they're getting more airtime. They're saying more.
Oh, that's fine. I want the product to be good. If I feel like they suck and I'm not getting an opportunity, and I feel like I could improve it, then I would be upset, and then I'd be like pissed, and then that would look like, then you could spin it and say like, you just didn't like that you weren't getting the attention. Like, no, just that it sucked. It was stupid. Like sometimes on our show, when things get real stupid, if I don't think it's funny, and who knows what that sort of threshold is, because I laugh at a lot of, and participate in a lot of the stupid things that we do or say, but then there are just certain things where I'm like, I don't think this is funny. and I back off from it. Now, if the whole entire show were like that, like a cheesy morning show type of thing, I would not participate just to participate. I would want to kill myself because it would be so stupid and I'd have to be a part of it.
That's what I said that one time when Eric likes to go down that path where you're a failure at radio.
I know.
Look, I made a choice to leave radio. I feel as though I could have pursued a career and still made a radio career if I really wanted to. It's something I decided I didn't want to chase because I didn't want to have the instability of that life. And I still stand by that. But there was, when that comes up, and then when I would have the fake feuding with Tad, who was the B98.5, is the B98.5 morning show host. And then that one day, Tad wasn't even in the studio. I know some people may not know what we're talking about. The point is, he does a morning show that's music intensive on, I don't even know what that station is considered. What is B98.5? Top 40? It's not top 40 because they play
used to be easy listening, right?
Yeah, that's not top 40 because they play older stuff.
Right.
I don't know what it's considered. But when I said, if I had to do that job, meaning the morning show on a station like that, I would kill myself. I meant it. The same way and it wasn't supposed to be an insult at Tad. It's just, that is not a situation. Like, people have this idea there's a glory or, yes, you're doing it. You should be satisfied. It's like, no fucking way. If I'm performing, if I'm doing a show, I don't want it to be in that context. No way. With the current show, I do sit back sometimes. Because you said, if I don't like what's going on, I'm just gonna roll my eyes, and that's what I feel quite often.
I just give them the space to do it, and I don't participate in it if I don't think.
I think
it's good.
I think half the stuff is stupid.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
No, but I could see it.
If you hate it, why don't you fucking quit? That's
because I'm not fucking defensive as shit. No, I know. I'm saying one. Like the royal me.
I'm joking that I think half of it's shit. I just said that. And I just like when listeners, not that it happens often, but I make comments like that. So why just don't do the fucking show then? They get defensive. Down. They get defensive and protective over it, which is a strange thing.
Did you see somebody posted on 2+2=4 the thing that sent Eric into orbit about COVID-19 on Spotify? Did you see what it actually was?
Oh, the little banner? Yes.
It was a teensy little banner.
It just says to learn more about COVID. I get it. I mean, I get the idea that why did you get so angry over this?
Just over many segments. And then into it's like, once I saw
well, go ahead.
Once I saw what it actually was, which was this like a third of an inch or something, like banner across it was just absolutely nothing. And the way that he responded to it really made him seem weaker in my mind.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know, on Spotify, where podcast for the Von Hessler Doctrine is posted, I guess there's an algorithm that trolls it. And if you talk about COVID, it just puts a little banner above it, a hyperlink.
Right.
That takes you to some information on COVID-19.
And
Eric freaked the fuck out over it.
Yeah. I understand why. I understand why he was annoyed. I totally understand that. But it was the amount of vitriol that made me okay, calm down. This seems like more than just this, Well,
there's a defensiveness to it.
Yeah.
Because in the current state of the world and the climate of everything is hyper political. And talking about COVID, he took it as being pigeonholed or put in a certain box. It's like, oh, so you're just putting me in this box of other people who pass along misinformation or, even similar to Rogan, I guess, by having that doctor on. Even though Eric defends that, I feel as though he viewed it as being put in that same labeling.
And he really doesn't like that. I know Eric really doesn't like that. Well, and I get it. But it also just feels like I don't think anybody interacting with that page that sees that COVID thing is thinking the way that Eric is thinking he's being perceived.
Oh, this is one of those shows. That's what he thinks.
Right. And I don't think that I don't think I would have even noticed that it was on some shows and not on others. And then if it was, I wouldn't think okay, conspiracy nut, right wing garbage.
It was a fun segment though. I enjoyed the segment.
You did? See, I didn't like it. It made me feel uncomfortable.
I like trashing people.
Oh, see,
favorite pastime of mine.
I like trashing people.
A CEO.
I don't give a shit. I felt like that. I don't care about someone just because they're rich.
A good CEO. It's not about being rich. It's about being the head of a corporation. Take the money away. I'm tired of this. And I get labeled and talking about labelings. You hate rich people. No, it's the fucking head of a corporation who thinks they're hot shit.
I don't know if he thinks he's hot shit.
He does. The guy who runs Spotify.
Okay. I don't know that. So that's why I don't like to participate, because I don't instantly get that feeling just because he's the head of a corporation. Driving
everything that's wrong. Most things that are wrong.
Yeah.
In this society. So he's just one of those people. That's why. Okay. So it's one of my favorite things.
So what I did was sit back during that, because I was like, okay.
I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Good. I'm glad.
Going back to the being questioned and getting really angry, like Eric having that banner put up, it's though someone's questioning him. That was always the weird thing. I am a child in certain ways, but when I was working in radio, and anytime I do anything creative and I'm putting something out there, if you come in and I feel as though you don't understand it and you give me feedback, I will lose my shit the same way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't necessarily do it outwardly. It is inside, though, I am raging. It was the same thing when I edit. Client would come back with feedback and I would read the feedback and I would get so unappropriately pissed off. Again, I wasn't shouting. Nobody could see this outwardly.
I know what you mean.
But I was fuming on the inside.
Yeah.
Because how dare you? I know how to fucking do this. And I can admit that I don't know how to do things perfectly and I can get better. There's always room for growth. And that's why I'm saying I'm a child. The reaction in itself, but also the way you have to approach it. And that's why I quite often talk about Leslie Fram being, the best program director I had, because the way she approached it was, all right, here's what you're doing and here's how we can make it better. And maybe that isn't treating someone with kid gloves. I should give myself some credit, I guess, for who wouldn't like that approach is my point.
Right.
Someone being on your side and not coming in as an authority. I know, here's how to do it. Don't do that. Stop this.
Well, there's no ego in place when you're saying, I don't really get what you're doing, but you do. And let's try and make it fit this so that you can stay.
And there's a vulnerability when you're putting yourself out there.
True.
If you're performing and someone comes in and just goes after it. And I think that's why that banner, the COVID thing, set him off, because it showed no understanding of the show, because it's a generic faceless thing. And then, it's also in a way representative of the state of society, where we even are in a spot where people have to do things like that to keep another portion of the population at bay and satisfied.
And part of it is me, because I am not so comfortable with anger. And so I think the fact that he was like so pissed about it, I don't know, a lot of times when there's a lot of anger around, I feel uncomfortable, I guess. So I think maybe my coping mechanism is to be like, whatever. Like, I'm not dealing with this. It makes me really angry. I'm not going to feel that. It's annoying.
Well, when you're feeling uncomfortable, for anyone, I think they just shut down a bit. They become a little quiet. It seems like a pretty natural reaction.
Oh, I don't think it's unnatural, but I'm just saying I think that I wasn't as able to try and understand Eric in that moment, and I kind of was judging him because I was thinking like, man, what a baby about it. But it is a creative outlet, and it is and he felt misrepresented, and so like you're saying, I can understand it in that moment, but I think when it's communicated through anger, it makes it more difficult for me to hear it or understand it or sympathize with it.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think you're a weirdo for that.
All right. Thanks.
Unless you want to be. Unless that's a point of pride. That's part of
I want to be weird.
It's part of the thing that you like to present.
Man, so I see a lot of kids still wearing masks, like just outside walking with their friends. Like there'll be one kid in a mask and the rest won't. And I was thinking, like, if I were a kid at this age, like in middle school, I would totally still just wear my mask just to be different. Like, oh, people aren't wearing their masks anymore. I still wear mine.
See, always putting on a show.
Yeah.
Your whole life.
I told you about, did I talk about it on here at the end of it was the summer, and, we were taken to the movies, by my like daycare or whatever that was like watching me for the summer, like the summer camp, and we went to see the Jetsons movie. And at the very end of the movie, like as the last line was said and they were like panning away and they were cutting to the credits, I laughed out loud at nothing, because my plan was like that people would think that there was a joke that they just didn't get, and I got the joke, and they wondered like, oh, what did I miss? The fuck?
I don't. What was so? I understand that you're saying that you are hoping that people thought, oh, there was a joke that I missed, but were you hoping they felt stupid? Were you hoping they joined in with you?
No, it wasn't about them. It was about me. It was about me being special and getting something that they didn't get, or like that they missed. And I was so perceptive, or like I was so like cool that like I got the joke.
You love attention. And being an only child, I know that you lean into that. I was an only child, so I was used to it. But usually I would feel as though a lot of this behavior in my mind is
you
like,
weren't an only child.
I wasn't, no.
Yeah, you said I was an only child.
You are.
No. You said, quote, I was an only child, end quote.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying that you're an only child.
Yeah.
And the behavior to me is like someone who has 7 kids.
Right, and wants to stand out.
Yes. Because was the attention you're getting not enough? You needed more? You attention glutton?
I think it was an early way to sort of, only through hindsight, I'm guessing this might be something, that it was an early way to sort of project a version of myself to make sure that, again, like I was a little interesting, or like not just a normal kid sitting in this theater. Like I'm more than just.
What's so wrong with being normal kid, though? This isn't specific to you, because obviously there's a striving by so many people to set themselves apart. Being normal isn't enough. And anyone given the opportunity to perform, meaning the access that people have at this point, you love TikTok. That's one of the platforms. And we don't need to dive deep into it or analyze it, because I feel like we talk about social media quite often. But anyone having access, we see that high percentages. I guess we don't really know how many people, but there are a lot of people out there who have been desperate to put on a show. Mm-hmm. They want to set themselves apart, whatever the motivations. And so with you, I'm just curious, why?
I'm on like the edge of my seat. What are you going to say? I think that back then I was like I wasn't as like I didn't have such a refined way of expressing that individuality. And so I was trying to be just like a little different. And even now I'm not trying to not be normal. But I'll do the normal things that work for me, but I'm not going to. I tried to do all the normal things that are supposed to be normal.
Yeah, that was the performance. I feel as though
I wanted to die.
I feel as though somehow our topic has become performing, and both in life, on stage, whatever it is, we obviously perform all the time. People are performing their lives at any given moment. And I'm with you in the fact that like my weirdness wasn't the performance. There was plenty of things about me naturally that were weird or made me feel weird, or got reactions from people that actually made me feel bad when I was young. I remember the first time in my life somebody called me weird, and I didn't even understand why. I can't recall what it was I was doing, but it didn't make me feel good. And then at some point, when you're like, oh, my natural state is bad. it makes people think that about me. It gave obviously way too much weight to one person's opinion, but that's the way it goes when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And at that point, God knows the different performances I put on. At some point, I leaned into being weird and ramped it up and exaggerated it and just went over the top. I was like, all right, well, if this is how, then I'll control it, or I'm going to be so extreme with it. That'll offset. It forms as a layer of protection, I guess. So it is interesting. Like, I know that when talking about you, and I hope it did come off as an attack. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you being so weird? I know, like, you are who you are naturally. You do portray to the world. And it's interesting to hear you say that your performance for a long time was trying to shy away from that.
Well, I think it was part of that performance was like not being in touch with who I really am. So it was like autopilot. And then because I was on that and then maybe separate was, you know, the not wanting to deal with hard things, you know? So not only had I sort of lost my way a little bit, then I also was coping with not having to deal with hard things by not paying attention to them, not bringing them up, not addressing them, just letting them fester, rot. So I feel much more myself now, but with that is a reminder of, like, in a lot of ways I am normal, you know? I'm a mom.
Yeah, there's nothing overly...
I give my kids macaroni and cheese and, like, nuggets and, you know, but then I also don't want to just be a square.
Out of all the people you're surrounded by, how many of them... I know that you feel as though it's hard for you to fit in where you live. Ish. I know you found a group of people, and still at times it feels as though there's a struggle. There's things you want that you can't necessarily get where you live. How many of those people, though, like, looking at you, and if you were being yourself, would think that you're weird? I think if you get that reaction from people, I should ask first, do you feel as though, and weird may not be the right word, but a word similar, do you think people would look at you and think there's...
What I feel like is just not boring.
So it's a point of pride. I'm not boring.
Yeah.
And I think other people, though, not everyone, it's hard to say, but there are people who would react to that. And they would recoil, or a negative way. They'd assign...
It's more like, whoa, you're wild, you know? And it's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, and I wonder if, like, how many of those people are actually performing in a way like you were.
See, I don't think though. I mean, who knows? But
you think people are really just, like, in touch with themselves and presenting themselves as they are? Do you think that many people are just boring? Maybe they are. I have no fucking clue.
I don't know. You know, or maybe they're just they save that for their personal time. You know what I mean? Like, they're their weird selves with their partner at home, and they don't, like, outwardly express that. But I feel like not expressing that is boring.
I think that we're trained in a way, though, to not express that you're supposed to fall into a mold, and that's been shifting and changing quite a bit. But if you think about the way you were supposed to be, the way it was supposed to go when you grew up, it does feel as though it's beaten out of people, not physically, maybe sometimes sadly, but, you know, you're pushed in that direction. It's like, no, none of that. Just go be an adult. That means work.
I mean, there were a lot of things that I got to do. I don't mean for it to just be about me, but there were a lot of things that I did that were outside the norm. Like, you know, I was going to a technical college right after high school that I didn't really give a shit about. And then I quit that and went to intern for free. You know, I did I don't know. I didn't go to school for a long time.
If you could have done anything, let's say you could travel back in time, just you don't need to give the preface. Oh, I don't want to change. I love my kids. None of that stuff. I'm just saying that if you just went for the thing that you wanted to do and you didn't do the things you thought you're supposed to do, what would have looked like? I know you can't say exactly, but give me an idea.
I would not live in the United States.
Where would you go?
I don't know. Europe? I don't know. Somewhere else. I would have gone and like tried to live in another country, Ireland, you know?
Oh, Ireland would have taken you in a heartbeat. Everyone leaves Ireland. They've been happy to have you there.
I just, I mean, I know that my mom listens, and I don't, Mom, if you're listening to this part, don't take this to heart. But there was just a lot of like, I can't leave. I'm an only child. You know, there was a...
Did you assign that though?
No.
Oh, that was put on you.
I mean, not put on me like explicit terms, but...
It's not a bad thing. Your mom listens. She loved you. Loves you.
I know.
Still.
Of course. She
didn't want you to leave. Look, I get it. I get it from my parents. Luckily, I had siblings, but still,
right.
I've been in New York for going on 15 years, and I still get, when are you going to move back? You know, my dad, out of my parents, my dad was the one who expressed it more often, that he missed me and wished I moved back, and then that was happening like the moment I left. So I understand. I think it's a pretty normal reaction.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I felt like a little bit. Oh well, that's just out of the question. I mean, I think in my mind... So
you presented it at some point. You said,
but
I'm going to move to a different country.
No. It was more like if that ever was an option, it was like, you know, you can't do that. And instead of me dealing with that hard emotion, I just ignored it and let that go. Do you know what I mean? I don't regret that. But with the kids and with, you know, the marriage and everything, it would be, if I didn't have the kids, I would totally try and live somewhere else. Especially with this setup, you know, with the radio show, I could do it anywhere. I mean, the time difference would suck, I guess, but who cares?
Yeah, it's only 3 hours a day, 3.5 hours.
Exactly. So, yeah, I would try and live somewhere else. But
what would you have done? That's just the extent of it. That's fine.
Just an idea, because I can't untangle, you know, the tapestry that's behind me. I don't know when or what. I never had like the chance, and I didn't take it. It was nothing like that. But I think if I with the vision, like with the hindsight, is 2020, I would try and live somewhere else.
Interesting. I guess I did that part. I moved where I wanted to move.
Yeah.
I started not giving up, but there was definitely a lull and a lack of action in my 30s. It was strange in my late 20s, thinking I'm supposed to be at a certain point. I'm not there, so I've fucking failed. And it's too late. Yeah. I'm old. There was this idea. It's like, it's done. My window of opportunity is past. And I don't, like, speaking
and
to
what were you, 31?
Yeah, even approaching 30. Because that was when I was doing the transition in careers, going from radio to video production, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. You know, looking back on it, for me, I guess there was this idea. I always liked, somewhere in my head, the idea of performing on stage, and it took me a little while to accept the fact that I absolutely hate it. Like, it is not for me, and I'm okay with that now. But for a while, it bothered me that it wasn't for me, and I didn't put myself on stage that often. The improv show was one instance, you know, and screwing up that scene really still sticks with me today, which I should let it go because it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
But even doing radio, which I was used to doing, and then coming here and doing the shift on Sirius, the Maxim channel, doing a talk show for 2 hours and struggling with that. That was difficult for me. So any performance, that's not on stage necessarily. You're still presenting yourself. But I'm talking about being seen actually on a stage. I never gave myself the room, though, to learn how to move through those feelings. I would just beat myself up when I sucked at it. So if I could redo things, I think, one, I would allow myself to screw up more than I did. For whatever reason, like, again, the fact that I still beat myself up over a beginner's course improv graduation show goes to show that I didn't have the skin for a lot of it. And I wish just going in, doing things, failing at it, And I think a lot of people have that problem. The people who get through are the people who can take that. But then also accepting that I don't like being on stage, or maybe I could have grown to be okay with it, like being on stage, if I was able to.
That takes wisdom, right?
Yeah,
like you need to.
I'm too
now. Maybe you could go back and do it, but
I'm too self-conscious though. So we always talk about writing. Writing's a thing I wanted to do. That's the thing I shied away from for those reasons, because I didn't feel as though I could take the criticism that would come with it, especially because it was the one thing I held dear to myself. Like, this is what I'm good at. I can't have other people telling me I'm bad at it, so I'll just never put myself in a spot where that can happen. So that's a shame. As far as performing goes, there was this idea of wanting to try stand-up or something, but it's like, I don't think that that's me. And that's okay. But there was an idea for quite a while that's like, why didn't I try to do things? Because I had my friend Dave, who lived here, who was doing stand-up comedy and would try to lure me up. I just get sick. Still to this day, I don't like public speaking at work. We have meetings with, if there's 40 people in a meeting and I have to speak, my breathing gets off. I start losing my train of thought. But then, like, your brain goes elsewhere. It's like, okay, you can't breathe right now. You're running out of breath. But you can't stop speaking because there's a lot of people listening to you, and
your brain does you no favors in this moment.
No, but I end up just continuing to speak throughout it, and God knows what I fucking say. I'm sure it's fine. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. But you just like disassociate, right? You're like, I'm leaving my body so I can continue.
Yeah, and I still to this day, improv wasn't for me. Not only because of the stage thing, I don't necessarily like working in groups. I will shut down. We were just having a conversation the other day, a work conversation. People were talking about these audio problems they were having on this thing that we had done. It was for Discovery Plus, so it needed to have very specific specifications for delivery.
I love Discovery Plus.
And they were talking about the sound, and I had some insight they didn't have, but there was like 3 people just talking and throwing in their opinions, and I was completely shut down. It's like, I'm not getting in the middle of that. And I just let it go. But like, even if I wanted to speak, I couldn't have brought myself to speak for whatever reason. That was
because they were talking a lot.
Yeah, I was like, you're talking, and everyone thinks that they know what's best, and I have no desire to get in the middle of that. And that happens, on the radio show at times with Eric, or when we're on stage. I still get nervous anytime we do a live show. I don't like necessarily being up there. And, depending on where my mind goes, I could get in that zone where I don't want to speak too much.
See, if I were in your shoes in that moment where a lot of people are talking and you had insight or whatever, I would make sure that they heard what I had to say. Not talking over and not being obnoxious, but definitely like, okay, guys, like just let me, I would definitely pipe in. I would not shy away.
See, that feels performative to me. At this point, I beat myself up a bit after that too. It's like, why didn't I step in? Like, my boss was on the call and he knows that I know more about audio, and I'm sure that he was wondering why I wasn't saying anything. So I proceeded to write this explanation about how I just don't like doing that. And I'm coming to accept that there's things about myself, that I don't feel as though I need to put on a show or an act. And I don't want to talk, so I'm not going to fucking talk. I'll talk later, or I'll express something in writing after the fact. I'm not getting in the middle.
That's totally legitimate, especially like you get to know you're getting to know yourself and like what you're comfortable with. There's nothing wrong with that. And if it works better for you in that, like by making those adjustments, then great. Nobody says like, oh no, you need to be a performer. Oh, no, you need to be good at this. Da, 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 da. No, you don't.
Well, just in general. I know I made the jump from actual performer to performing in life. Bridging it
if you can communicate what you need to communicate, but just not in a way that feels inauthentic to you by like, guys, let me just say that real quick. Like, and if that makes you uncomfortable, don't do it. You shouldn't have to do it.
I am ruled by strong emotions. Like, I already said I get so angry, but like I feel things very strongly. And quite often in my life, I would just explain that away with logic. I was like, no, you can't, you shouldn't. And I've gotten to the point where, and because there are people who are also like that, they're very emotional and they dump all their shit on you. And you're like, what the fuck? You talk to them and then you feel as though that somebody literally buried you. Like there's a weight that you're carrying around at this point because this person put all their problems or their feelings on you. And I've gotten to the point where I feel as though I can express it. Like I'm feeling something strongly and I'm not the kind of person who will necessarily, in the right circumstance, I won't bite my tongue. Obviously, you can't just say whatever you're thinking at all times. But
right.
With my boss, there are people like him where traditionally the dynamic would be, no, don't bring that stuff up. It's like, no, I'll fucking express myself. But also, I don't feel as though I leave that destruction behind or leave a person feeling like, oh God, now I have to fix this.
Right.
I've gotten to a point where it's like, I've just expressed it. The person knows that I'm just expressing it. They don't have to do anything. There's nothing wrong. They don't have to worry about me not doing my job. And I think, it took a while for me to become comfortable with that being who I am. I didn't like feelings. I didn't like feelings. I didn't like emotions, but it's like, fuck,
for somebody, you really were fighting a losing battle because you are very emotional. And to try and be a robot is
I get very worked up.
Yeah.
And I've got a very clear idea of not right and wrong because I understand that
justice.
Yeah, there's fairness. And if I feel as though people are being treated unfairly, like obviously there's a level of unfairness in the world that we all have to deal with. But there are certain situations where it's like, why is this happening when it doesn't need to be happening? And this one person is benefiting and this other person who, because they're not a whiny piece of shit, isn't getting something that the person who doesn't deserve anything is getting. And, I will express that or call attention to it these days. I don't have any patience for certain things. I do draw pretty clear lines, I guess.
Yeah, that makes me think of a story or a story that had to do with like a bigger premise from Greg Fitzsimmons. And he's an alcoholic, like ADHD, something. And he would get a lot of road rage and he would like pull people over or like get them to pull over and stuff that he wasn't even involved in. Like if he saw someone 2 cars ahead do some shitty maneuver on somebody else on the road, he would zoom up to them and like get them off the side of the road and like yell at them or try and fight them and stuff. And in therapy, he was like, they were talking out like, why does he do that? And he just feels like he has to serve up justice. Like he has to be
I have those
that
fantasies.
Guy's not going to learn. I have to teach him.
Yeah, I have those fantasies. We've discussed them before.
Yeah,
talking about
cutting of people's Achilles tendon on the subway.
Yeah, where there's an official department put together, a team of people who are allowed to cut people's Achilles tendons when they're acting out and bothering other people.
Really intense. But it's also a marker, right? So like, if you got 2 chances, you got 2 Achilles tendons. So
exactly.
Mess up once, better not mess up again, or else you ain't walking anywhere.
Exactly. I don't know where that stems from.
I don't either.
I was just driving the other day. We were all stuck in traffic on the highway. And this car decided to do that thing where they drive in the shoulder to pass everyone.
Oh, the worst.
And I got really angry. But then I also got really angry and let it go in like 10 seconds. Whereas before I would be fuming. I don't think I would chase anyone down. I don't feel like getting stabbed or shot. Right. But it would be nice if something happened. If that person even got a ticket, you go farther down than you see them pulled over getting a ticket. Man, that would feel so great.
That feels, I think that would feel good to anybody. But for it to be on you, like you feel like you're the one that has to dole out the justice. Like that's interesting thing.
I don't want to. In my case, I don't want to. It's just that nobody else will. It's like, well, whatever. There's nobody else here to enforce anything. So I have to take matters into my own hands.
That sounds like Ben from 90 Day Fiancé.
No, it doesn't. Don't compare me to that creep.
I'm sorry.
Doesn't sound like anything like that guy.
oh, it's just, somebody, there's no one here to counsel them. And, I was a pastor, so
I'm just looking out for people. I would do the thing that people would applaud. They'd say, thank you for doing that. This isn't some kind of satisfaction that I need to fulfill. It's just I'm looking out for the little people.
Ben would say that too. He wouldn't think that.
You just glossed over my comment.
I didn't. What did I miss?
My megalomania. I said I'm just looking out for the little people.
Yeah.
I'm the one.
There you go.
I'm the one who can fix and take care of them. I just think it's interesting.
I am everything and I am nothing.
I just think it's interesting that you would have moved to a different country.
Yeah. My mom's never been out of the country.
No, I didn't know that. Why won't she go? Does she want to? Some people just don't want to.
I think so. I think it's a regret of hers.
She can still go. There's no need for it to be a regret.
I know. I've said that to her.
You go. Go with her.
Yeah, that's what I should do. Let's take her.
Where will you take her?
Oh my God. The other day I was telling her something and she thought I said weed. I said I did this thing and I'm allowed to get weed or whatever. And she was like, oh, can I do it with you? I was like, do what? It didn't make sense with what I was actually saying. And I was like, Mom, I said this. She's like, oh, I thought you said weed. And she's really desperate to get high.
Would you smoke with your mom?
Nah, I don't think so.
Why not?
Not with her.
You drink with her.
Yeah, but I haven't gotten high in a really, really long time. And that's for, her and someone else, her friends to do together.
I'll mail this to you.
But I did say talk to my friend and next time she goes, tell her to pick up something for you and just pay her for it.
Where did she go? DC? Oh no, in DC you can't buy anything.
You can buy stuff across the street from me. It's everywhere.
It's amazing that DC, they voted to legalize marijuana and then Congress said, no, we're just going to ignore that. How great is that? No local representation. I know the license plates say taxation without representation, which is
badass.
Which is exactly what it is. They have no representation. So it's basically saying your vote doesn't fucking matter. You voted for it.
It doesn't.
You want to legalize weed, but nah, we've decided no. And you don't have anyone locally to advocate for you. So go fuck yourselves.
Right. So, I told her to do that and she's like, no, I don't really even know. She changed her mind. I think she doesn't want another vice, She should just go in herself. Maybe that would be exciting. You have to have a card.
Oh. It's not legal there yet, fully, for recreational use?
I guess not, yeah. Anyway, I don't mean to keep bringing up my mom, but yeah, I should I should take her to another country. Probably somewhere easy first, right? A lot of English speaking.
I wonder where you'd be if you just left at a young age. I feel as though I would be in a similar spot. I would be here in New York. Yeah. If I pursued the things I wanted to do. I don't know if I'd be doing the show with you, but my life, it could be different in big ways, but also look very similar, if that makes sense. But for you,
that's a cool sign. That's good.
But for you, who knows where you'd be? You'd be in Sicily.
Yeah, I'd want to. I didn't ever want to be one of those people that are backpacking, the trains and the hostels and all that stupid shit.
Hostels. I feel as though you would love the hostels.
Oh, what I mean is though, the almost like Burning Man, how it turns into a thing. You know what I mean? I'm the young kid at the hostel. I wouldn't want any part of that.
Yeah.
But I think maybe I wouldn't live in another country, but maybe I would have lived in another country. There was just how you thought you were so old, when you're 29, it was almost over. I feel like there was a lot of opportunity that I didn't take as a young person who didn't have any thing holding them back, really. You know? I should have done a lot more of that.
What
stuff.
else?
What else?
Yeah, what else? You
What
said
else
there was
would
a
I
lot
have
of you said there was a lot of opportunities. I just am curious as to.
Oh, I just mean a lot of opportunity. Like there were a lot of moments or times when I could have traveled more or like sought out opportunities or like had a bigger picture of what my life could be instead of like, oh, well, I'm never going to leave. Oh, well, and I have to get married. And oh, I want to have 2 kids. I remember just deciding one day that's like, I'm going to, 2 kids. Yep.
Dear diary, I will have 2 children.
It just seems like it almost felt like this sounds really bad, but maybe other people will identify with it. It really just felt like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to have a turkey sandwich. Kind of felt like, yeah, you know, I'm going to have 2 kids. My idea is going to be 2 kids.
But it fits.
And then
it's
it just
fitting.
stuck.
It's fitting for you. It makes sense that you would make such a big decision with such detachment.
Yeah. Interesting. So I'm thinking about getting a dog. And I can feel myself now we're talking about it. Like I can feel myself being a little detached about the work that it's going to take to have a dog. It feels like the turkey sandwich. Like, it'll be fine.
And to change you.
What's that?
And to change you even more. You got to be around for the thing. You got to.
But I'm here. I'm chained.
Okay.
And I need a companion. I need like a friend. Like a little dude.
Well, loneliness can be a topic for a different time.
Yeah.
It's a shame that we never got to our random word generator. So
Oh, yeah. Should we do something real quick?
It was going to be lump. Lump was going to be our topic. We could have talked about all kinds of bumps and lumps under the skin. Maybe.
I wish that I had like a pustule that would like fill up.
Maybe
you know,
potholes.
and then you get to pop it every 6 months or something. That would be the best.
And maybe potholes and other bumps in the road that throw your steering out of alignment. It's a shame. I think we really missed out. You could have talked about that Presidents of the United States of America song, Lump.
Yeah.
We could have played it, possibly.
Or My Lovely Lady Lumps.
See, there were so many places we could have gone. So many places, but we didn't do it.
Lump.
Maybe next time.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Please like and subscribe, rate and review. Tell your friends about the show. Please download the show because apparently that's supposed to be better than just streaming it. So download it, please.
Why?
I don't know. Numbers.
But the numbers still show up. It's streaming.
Oh.
I'm just curious what you saw or heard or read.
I heard other people say it.
Not read.
Oh, yeah, I didn't read.
Okay. Download. Fine. Download. Even if you've already streamed this, download it.
Yeah, go back to all of our shows and re-download them. Re-listen to them over
Please, download them all.
And support our sponsor, hoffandpepper.com. Get 15% off some really great locally made...
Hoffandpepper.com.
Did I say cum?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like you said.
I think you're full of cum.
That was one of the big battles on Place, the subreddit Place. Do you know about this?
No.
They did it several years ago and it came back where every 5 minutes you can place 1 pixel on a big canvas and they have an array of colors that you can choose. And really, if you're trying to do anything yourself, you'll never get it done. So it gets kind of annoying in the sense that big groups and a lot of streamers are the only ones who could get things placed on because you've got a lot of people like fighting for space and people will paint, for lack of a better term, over what you put
I see.
on there.
Okay.
But one of the big battles that always went on is anytime somebody put a .com, other people would come in and take out the top part of the O, so it said .com. And I thought it was funny because no matter what point you get to in your life, people writing things like .com and drawing penises on everything is ultimately the baseline.
Yeah. Do you remember there was something that was some sort of community based something where it was like people, and if you had too many people around you, then like you would die, or like there was like a civilization growing up around you.
No, I don't.
God, I wish I had cut this out, because no, this absolutely
No,
went
we're gonna
nowhere.
leave it because we don't cut anything out. Just go back to hoffandpepper.com.
Hoffandpepper.com. Get some delicious cum from Chattanooga. Use our code OneTopic15 for some great cum.
Locally
and
crafted and handmade.
hand squeezed.
Okay, that's too much.
Okay, bye.